Love it. Look at this one eating a tomato like an apple.
Yes.
That's how my mom used to eat them.
That's right. Very good. Hi, y'all.
Hey.
Hi. I'm Sarah Deavitt. I am a certified holistic nutritionist here in Fresno. I work with people to help them make healthier food choices, especially as it relates to certain chronic health conditions. But I also love to meet up with people like y'all to explain to you a little bit more about what eating for your health looks like, right? We all know we love to eat at family gatherings, right? We love to eat out. We love to eat in community. We love to eat for energy. We like to eat when we're sad. We like to eat when we're happy. But what does it mean to eat for health? Eating for health, according to Dr. Ed Bowman, is a way of life. It reflects a relationship to food based on consciousness, gratitude, sound science, and positive energy. So when we're thinking about eating for health, it really is more about how can we feel our best when we eat and honor this amazing resource that is being created here at Fresno Freedom School. By eating a diverse and seasonal and local product. When we do that, we get the most variety, we get the most nutrients, we get the most flavor. When we eat the food that we grow, when we eat the food that's grown in our amazing valley. So we're blessed, right? Because we live in the fruit basket of America. Now, the flip side of that is that about 65% of what's grown here in the Central Valley doesn't even make it onto our own tables. It goes across the country and elsewhere. So in our community, it's so important that we understand where our food comes from and that we have a connection to that food, that we participate in making sure that that amazing local food makes it to our table, either by supporting the local farmers around us or by growing our food, right? You guys had a class this morning about growing food. You got your hands in the dirt. Yeah? How was that?
How was it?
It was good?
Yeah. How was it?
What was your favorite part about it?
Probably everyone working together.
Working together, right? That sense of community, right? Building a team. Yeah. That's a wonderful way to connect with your community is through growing food and then preparing that food and eating it. You guys are going to have a fun cooking class later. So, y'all heard soul food, right?
Oh, yeah.
I like to explain soul food in a couple different ways. My practice is called soulful nutrition. And we all think of soul food, right, especially in the Black community, as our ancestral foods, our community foods, our heritage foods. In addition to that, I also like to think about soul food as seasonal, organic, unaltered, unadulterated, and local. Soul food.
What was the last one?
Local. So we've all seen the My Plate, right? The Food and Drug Administration, like what your plate is supposed to look like, right? With the grains and the vegetables and the protein and dairy. My Plate is the kind of standard American diet. I'm here to talk to you about a plate that looks a little bit different. Okay? That looks a little bit more like the optimal way to get the best nutrients so we can avoid certain health problems like diabetes and heart conditions, autoimmune disease, which can include like rheumatoid arthritis and multiple sclerosis and lupus, really common illnesses that too many people are coming down with, and too many people at young ages are coming down with. I had my first rheumatoid arthritis symptom when I was 6 years old. Nobody knew that kids could get rheumatoid arthritis. Nobody talked about it. My mom had it, but nobody thought to say, like, does this child have it too? So I spent a lot of my adult life trying to figure out what was going on with me. And I've taken on that journey mostly by making changes in the way that I eat so that I can reduce the pain and inflammation in my system so I can even be standing here today talking to you. So what I did is I started with this eating for health plate. And I started looking at how can I get the right amount of protein, the right amount of grains every once in a while. So on that food, it used to be, it's a little different now that it's my plate, but some of y'all remember the food pyramid, where like at the bottom of the pyramid, the foundation of your meal was grain, right? It was the rice, it was the oats, it was the potatoes, it was the wheat, the bread, the pasta. If you didn't have a big chunk of that on your plate, you weren't eating right. But what they weren't telling us was that those foods eaten in that quantity creates sugar. Our body breaks it down as sugar. So what happens when we're eating that much sugar, 3 meals a day? We build insulin resistance, which is a condition that has us creating too much insulin in our body to try to break down that sugar. And that's how people end up with diabetes in life, because we're eating too much sugar. We think of sugar, right? We think of cake and candy and all of those things, but we don't think about all the other foods that create sugar in our body. So I'm not going to talk a lot about grains today. I'm going to mostly talk about how we can eat more protein, healthy fat, and lots of beautiful, colorful fruits and vegetables like the ones that you're growing here. Yes. Okay? And I want to talk about, like, when we think about carbohydrate, when you hear the word carb, what do you think of?
Potatoes.
Okay, potatoes.
Bread,
Starchy food, bread. You know what's so interesting is that fruits and vegetables are a carbohydrate.
Oh wow.
So when somebody says cut down the carbs, what they mean is what you think of carbs, the starchy things, bread, wheat, rice, potatoes, things like that. But you can still eat carbs if you're eating crunchy vegetables like carrots and broccoli and cauliflower and squash and cucumbers. Those are all carbohydrates. You'll get plenty of carbs in your diet, and they're super important for you if you're eating fruits and vegetables.
All right.
So keep that in mind. And we need those things. We need those vegetables and that fruit for all kinds of things. It produces vitamins and minerals in our body so we can fight illness, so our eyes work properly, so that we have mobility, that our digestion is working, so we go to the bathroom properly, which is really important. Now, fruit, of course, is sugar as well, but because fruit also has all of those vitamins and minerals and other really good things in them, it's healthier for you to consume than a lot of those starchy foods.
Right.
Fruit is essential to eat every day. It gives us energy. It contains those vitamins and minerals and includes something important called fiber. Fiber is really, really important for making sure that our tummies are working properly so that we can get those nutrients and minerals from the food. We need that in our digestive system. And the same with vegetables. They also contain a lot of fiber. They help move our blood around in our bodies. They clean out our cells so everything is working properly and can even protect us from damage. Here in Fresno, of course, we have a lot of air pollution, especially in the summer. So eating more fresh food and vegetables in the summer is going to protect you from the dirty air. Protein is also super important. It is essential to eat every single day because it helps us build muscles, it helps keep our bones strong, it gives us sustained energy and helps our brains function. Along with that, we need healthy fats like avocado and olives and fish help our brains function and to give us sustained energy. So again, when we think of energy food, right, we usually think of quick foods. What happens when you eat a carby food, right? You get that quick burst of energy, but then an hour later,
Yeah.
right? When you eat protein and fat as the foundation of your diet, then you get that sustained energy that gets you through the day and plateaus and keeps you going and keep you going and keep you going, so that you don't have those spikes of energy and blood sugar levels, so that you're maintaining consistent energy that can help your body function properly, so that you rest at night when you're supposed to, so that your body can recover from your activities of the day. So what are some of these foods? When you think of protein, pop out some different sources of protein.
Okay.
Beans, good. What else? Fish?
Peanuts.
Peanuts, good. Yeah. So other protein foods, of course, are meat and poultry, seafood, beans, peas, eggs, soy products, nuts and seeds, very important sources of protein, and seafood. So we want to have 2 to 4 servings of protein a day, averaging about 3 ounces of animal protein or 6 ounces of plant-based protein. So it's important to note here, when you're talking about protein sources, animal versus plant-based, okay? Now this is a big subject for me and something that I'm super passionate about. I am an omnivore, which means I eat everything, okay? Now, our bodies, we are bio-individual. What works for me may not work for you. But what's true as humans is that we need as diversified a diet as possible. Eating the same thing all the time, eating highly processed food all the time is not optimal for our vitality. So if you are choosing not to eat animal protein for whatever reason, it's important to understand a couple things about the plant-based protein options that are available to you. Now, there's a lot of back and forth and a lot of arguments on this, but I'm just going to stick to the basic science of it. There is no plant-based source that is a complete protein. A complete protein means that you're getting all of the things, all of those building blocks that make protein. The only source that you can get all of those from is an animal product, like an egg or a piece of chicken or a steak or some fish. You can only get that type of protein completely from animal protein. You can create it in a plant-based source, but you have to put things together in order to create it. It's interesting that culturally, there are certain cultures that have figured that out in their diets. Beans and rice. Those things together make a complete protein source. But separately, you won't get that complete protein. So you won't get the optimal amount. So if you're going to make sure that you are making those combinations so you're getting the right amount of protein. Another thing to think about is that plant-based alternatives like, Impossible meat and like all of those, like fake meat sources have been highly, highly processed.
Right.
Which means that they could be compromised as far as, do they have any nutrients by the time they get to your plate? Probably not. If they do, they probably had to be added in synthetically after the fact in order to get those nutrients back into the food. You have to think about the pollution that's created by making those fake burger patties or that fake chicken. Is that better than the grass-fed cattle farm down the road? So those are things to think about when you're deciding how you're going to get those sources of protein. As far as grains, you want to think about, can I have it in the wholest form, right? So maybe instead of having a piece of toast for breakfast, you have a cup of oatmeal. And I have a little rule when it comes to eating starchy carbs. It it is no naked carbs. So if you're gonna have a carbohydrate, put some protein and some fat on it. So if you're gonna have a baked potato, make sure it's got butter on it. Because that, right? Okay, there's a reason again, right? You don't gotta tell you twice, I know. Right? So you're gonna put that butter on that potato and it's gonna taste real good.
Yeah.
And it's gonna keep your blood sugar from spiking. That fat from that butter is gonna help level out that blood sugar spike from the high sugar content of that potato. So if you're gonna have oatmeal, have some nuts and seeds with it. Have some, peanut butter drizzled on it. Throw a little butter in there to make sure that you're not just having this plain cup of oatmeal with sugar on it. If you're gonna have those grits, you better put butter. I mean, we have to put butter in those grits. I need right. So, all of these things that we really have to consider, they're for a reason. It's for a reason that those combinations have been created. Not just because it tastes good, but also because when you combine those things together, it's good for you. So other types of carbohydrate, aside from grain, right? We've got fruit, we've got strawberries, we've got greens, we've got crunchy vegetables like cucumbers and carrots. We've got squash. So many things. We're entering a season where all of these foods are available to us. So we can really eat a rainbow on our plate. The goal is to have the most colorful plate possible, right? When we go and we get like fries and chicken nuggets, it's all, I know they are, listen. I hear you. They are. When we eat them every day, right?
It's good.
It is good.
The manufacturer
And
is good.
it's not necessarily so good for you, even though it tastes good.
I know it tastes so.
It tastes so good, but you know what? They make it taste good so that you keep coming back for more.
Well, except for me.
I know it's working on you. I know that. But again, right? So especially this is for the grown folks in the audience.
Okay.
You got to think about that industrial food complex,
That's
right?
right.
They make that food taste good so you keep coming back for more. You keep spending your money.
Yep.
I'm scared
I
of
got
the
great.
mystery.
It's the mystery.
It's the
behind it.
What makes
Oh,
it
it goes.
Yeah.
I know, Shy. I mean, you could like go make yourself crazy, but like the first time I understood the labeling of eggs and what it all means, right? You walk into the grocery store and you see cage-free and free-range and organic and pasture-raised and all vegetarian feed, and you're like, what does it all mean? It means so many different things. So when you go buy eggs, right? You go and you see cage-free. So what that means is that they're not in cages. What that doesn't mean is that they see sky. What that doesn't mean is that they're able to go outside. It just means they're not in cages. But it usually means they're in about 3 to 5 feet of space within a large room like this. Packed in together.
Wow.
Outside prison.
An indoor prison, right? This is indoor, right? Cage-free, not in a cage, but they're still not allowed outside. They're only fed their feed, which is usually like seeds and grains, predominantly soybeans, seeds, wheat, things that they don't naturally eat. So that's cage-free. Free range means that they get a little bit more space, usually still inside. And again, they're not getting their natural diet. But they get a little more space. Pasture raised means that they are allowed to graze all day from sunup to sundown on open pasture, eating their natural diet of grass, seeds, bugs. They get sunshine, so no omega-3s or vitamin D needs to be added to their feed in order to give the eggs the nutrients. So ideally, pasture-raised is the best option. Pasture-raised and organic are also two different things. Organic means that their feed is organic, that it hasn't been treated with any pesticides or herbicides or anything like that. Organic eggs also does not mean that they're pasture-raised. It just means that they're getting organic feed, but it doesn't mean that they're going outside and getting their natural diet and fresh air. So that's just a taste of when we're looking at those labels, what does it mean? What do those labels mean? And it's so important to think about that. We want to get the highest quality that we have access to, right? We are what we assimilate. So are the things that we consume. So if we consume beef, we are consuming what they're consuming. So if they are only fed corn and grain, then we're also getting that from that. We're not getting, all of the other nutrients that they would have gotten if they were grass-fed. So those are things to think about when you're in the grocery store and you're taking a look and you're going, what does all of this mean? You want to get the best quality that you have access to, right? We vote with our money. So it's expensive right now, but let me tell you, it's all expensive. It doesn't matter if it's organic, it doesn't matter if it's grass-fed. We've gotten to a point where our food is just expensive, no matter the quality. I remember when I was in nutrition school back in 2015, and I learned about the eggs. And I went to the grocery store and had a mild panic attack in the egg section because I was like, I can't afford the healthy eggs. Like, well, this is crazy. They were $15 a dozen for pasture-raised eggs. Now you can get them for under $10, which is like amazing because eggs are crazy expensive. You can get them at Trader Joe's for $6.99. You can get organic pasture-raised eggs. That would have never happened 10 years ago. So we see that our vote with our money matters. Because there's a demand for it, the price drops until it becomes accessible. So what could be preventative and expensive now if we choose that and say, I'm going to not go to Starbucks this month, ever. I'm not going to go to Dutch this month. I'm going to buy some grass-fed meat instead. And you start prioritizing your food budget in a different way. That vote counts. In some ways, maybe more than any other vote we make. Because we'll see it in real time. We'll see it in our grocery bills. We'll see it in our energy bills. We'll see it in the access to the food that we get in our communities. It's something to really, really think about. Like, this really matters and makes a global impact in the long run. So, I want to talk about, I wish this young man would come back, because this is such a good, we were talking about, chicken nuggets and french fries taste good. Yes, they taste so good. But when we only eat those bland, when I say bland, beige food that's highly salted and highly processed, there's like a sweet, salty thing to those that is addictive, right? And it dumbs down and dulls our tongue, our palate. So that when we taste a fruit or a vegetable that doesn't taste that like that, we go, ugh, that's weird, because we don't know what it is. We don't know, why is that bitter? Why is that spicy? Why is that's too sweet or not sweet enough? Because we haven't given our brain an opportunity to meet all of these different textures and flavors, and that is so important. We digest food starting with our eyes and our brain. So when we see these red, ripe strawberries, right, my mouth starts to water, right? That's actually a biochemical process of our digestive system preparing us to eat our food. Our body's going, yes, okay, let's break down those nutrients, let's do it, right? So when we take a bite of that strawberry, let's take a bite of a strawberry, shall we? Yeah. I just got these at the farmer's market this morning. They are ripe and fresh and local. Want strawberry? Yeah. Show you this strawberry that I made. the strawberry?
Are they organic?
They are.
The reason I ask is because strawberries are the highest.
Exactly. That's right.
Oh, yes, please. Thank you. Oh, that's good.
Uh-huh.
And they're the only fruit.
Oh, we'll talk about Driscoll's then. Okay.
Oh,
We definitely do talk about Driscoll's. Thank
I'll
you.
talk about Driscoll. Yeah.
It's my favorite. Oh my God.
see, this is why I like this sister. She
Alright.
she make it thorough.
We'll go in about Driscoll. So go ahead and take a bite of your strawberry.
Oh my God.
I already ate it.
Oh, you already ate it.
Good.
Strawberry? Strawberry?
It is very.
Now, what do you taste?
It's more like
Bitter.
a natural, sweet, juicy.
Juicy.
Uh-huh. All together. Right. Mm-hmm. What does it feel like?
It's soft.
Juicy.
Makes your mouth water.
Mm-hmm.
Fleshy.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Strawberries are my favorite.
It's good.
Okay, so strawberries. Nancy back here asked if they were organic. That's a great question. So there's an organization called the Environmental Working Group, and their website is ewg.org. And every year they run tests on all fruits and vegetables to see what their here. Let's do this.
Oh. Let's do the basket around.
Yeah. Okay. Would you mind? Environmental working group tests all fruits and vegetables to see the levels of pesticide residue once they've been harvested, to inform people about what's the safest. So when we're talking about access and budgeting for, food, eating an all organic diet may not be financially accessible for everyone. So it's important to make educated choices. So they have a list called the Dirty Dozen, which is the top 12 rated fruits and vegetables that have the highest amount of pesticide residue on them. And then of conventionally grown produce. And then they have the Clean 15, which is the safest of the conventional, down at the bottom of the list. And then there's a rating of everything in between as well. So for the past, 8 years? More. Strawberries. Number one at the top of the list of the Dirty Dozen for the most pesticide residue. So if you buy one thing organic, please let it be strawberries. And do your best to get them locally. Now, we'll go in about Driscoll. Driscoll, you'll see in the grocery store a lot. Driscoll is one of the largest berry producers in the United States. They are based on the Central Coast, just outside of Watsonville, just straight across from us. They present themselves, they do have an organic component and they have a conventional component. But they have a very long history of poor work conditions for their farmers, of short selling their small berry suppliers in order to get the best price. And most of the time, they're picking those berries way before they're ready. And that's true of just about any produce you're gonna buy in the grocery store. They buy in such large quantities and supply such large quantities that there's no way, right? If they pick, those berries were picked at peak ripeness because they were gonna go straight from that farm when they were picked yesterday to our table, to our mouths today. If I don't use the rest of those berries by the middle of the week, they'll be done. But that's okay, because they were picked at the absolute perfect time to eat them. That means that their flavor is at their peak. It means that their nutrient density is at their peak.
Right.
But when you buy grocery store produce, it's been picked way before that and held in cold storage so that you can get it across the country. Imagine, I lived in New York City for 9 years, and I am a California girl. I was born and raised here. And I had the shock of my life when I went to go buy an avocado, and it was like $6 for one avocado. And that wasn't even at Whole Foods. That was just like a regular grocery store. $6 for one avocado, right? It's crazy. I mean, I lived a long time without avocado. It's sad. But what I noticed is that it would fluctuate, right? Because when they were in season, when avocados were in season kind of in the winter, it would drop. It would still be like $5 an avocado, which is still crazy. But, you know, you have to think about why it's that expensive. When it's going all the way across the country and it's not grown there, the gas, the storage, the labor that goes into, that's why those prices are high. So when we buy local, when we grow our own food, we cut those costs. Again, then we have control. We vote with our money about what we want, what we have access to. So those things are so important. So now that we had that strawberry, I want you to try a blueberry. Now don't eat it. Okay, just don't eat it right away. Okay, don't eat it right away. Don't eat it right away.
No promises.
So these are also local, they're organic, but I want you to see the difference, right? And we'll talk about the difference in the taste and the texture. So just take one and hold on to it.
Okay, oh, I got it.
We're gonna go through a process with the blueberry, okay? I'm like, don't eat it.
I didn't get no strawberry.
Oh, I'll get you a strawberry, sir. Hold on. You're eating watermelon.
She's so nice.
Oh, strawberry.
Oh, strawberry.
It looks black.
It's organic.
Oh,
Local.
organic has a deeper color. Yes.
Also, because it was locally grown, it was picked yesterday.
So can I eat it?
Wow. Right.
Can I eat it?
Yeah, it was.
Oh.
It was good. Okay.
Now where you buy this at?
I got all of this at the Vineyard Farmers Market on the corner of Blackstone
And Shaw.
and Shaw.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So, with our blueberry, look at it. What does it look like to you? How does it feel? Describe it.
Does it always have this
It's like-
dusting on it, Sarah?
It's very brown.
It's very round.
It's not like the form.
It's a sphere,
It is.
has a little cup with a little star on it,
Oh, that's a good description.
like a daffodil. But it's blue,
It's blue.
it's got a little belly button on the other
It's
side.
really long. Yes.
Got umbilical cord.
Aren't blueberries a superfood?
They are a superfood. You know the saying, the darker the berry? The darker the berry, the more antioxidants. Oh. The darker the berry.
No, cracking me up.
More antioxidant. More antioxidant.
Family tree, so it's all right.
Don't put it in your mouth yet.
Now what was that? The black and the what?
More
The black and the
antioxidants.
Who dropped a blueberry
Who dropped
on
a
the
blueberry?
floor?
The young man on the
Trent?
It's
Did you-
firm, right?
Oh, is it,
Yeah.
you got your blueberry? one, did you drop yours?
Yeah, I dropped mine.
Okay, well.
It's all the way back here.
Yeah.
Okay, don't drop it. All right, so we have our blueberry. Now, you're gonna put it in your mouth, but don't bite it. Just place it on your tongue.
Fruit torture.
The star side or the other side?
Whatever works for you. What does it feel like?
Nasty.
It feels weird? It feels nasty? He doesn't like fruit. He just likes chicken nuggets. All right, take a bite.
Yeah.
What does it taste like?
Mine tastes like corn.
That's interesting.
It does a little bit.
It's so sad. It has a faint sweetness. Yeah.
So,
Mine's very sweet.
when you're trying a new food, I encourage you to kind of take this same moment, right? Sometimes trying new foods can be intimidating, can be a little scary, right? We're not sure what it's going to taste like. Maybe we heard that it tastes weird or it tastes different. But the only way that we can know is if we just, take a pause and really take a moment to think about where that came from, why it might be good for you, and just take a chance and really get to know it. What does it feel like? What does it smell like? What does it feel like in your hand? What does it feel like on your tongue? And when you take a bite of it, really taking the time to taste it. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. That's okay, but at least you tried it. And that is one of the most important things. So, a couple of things that we want to think about when we're making this decision to eat a healthier thing is that it doesn't just have to be fresh. It's okay if it comes in a can. It's okay if it comes in the freezer, frozen. So when you're looking at non-fresh food as an option, right? If fresh food is not available to you, the next best resource is frozen, because it is cut up and processed at peak ripeness and flash frozen. So all of those nutrients are intact when they're frozen. So frozen is a great option for fruits and vegetables if you can't get your hands on the fresh. It's out of season or you just don't have access to it. Frozen, great option. But also dried fruit. Now dried fruit, higher in sugar. Not the better option, especially if you're watching your blood sugar. Avoid dried fruit. Way higher in sugar. But, a fruit leather, raisins, dried cranberries, dried mango, my favorite. So good. Of course, fresh fruit, berries, freeze-dried, like dried apples, things like that can be a really good option. Applesauce is a great option if it doesn't have added sugar. If it's just pureed apple and water, great option. Add a little cinnamon to it for a little extra flavor. Spices and herbs have nutrients too, so use them freely. And even juice. Now, juice, again, you want to look for juice that is just the pure juice and not things added to it, but like pure orange juice or pure apple juice, unsweetened, is a really great way to get fruit. Now, pressed juice you don't get the fiber, you get the flavor and you get some of the nutrients, but the best thing is a smoothie, because you get the fiber and everything of the whole fruit and not just kind of the sugar of it. So what would a healthy breakfast look like? Oh, sorry, yes.
I have a question. What about, sometimes I see on the labels, it says apple juice concentrate or cherry juice concentrate. What is that?
So it is a kind of boiled down, highly concentrated juice. It's still juice.
Do they add sugar to that?
They might. See, that's kind of how it's hard to know. So, concentrate is usually like, oh, see, applesauce, amazing, right?
Now, is this good for you or bad for you?
This is fine. Yeah, apples lactose, water, and a little ascorbic acid just as a preservative. Totally fine. Absolutely. Like, the thing about processed food, like, if, you know, this is a great option. It's processed, but it's minimally processed, and there's minimal ingredients. So the less ingredients, the better. If it's just apples and water, perfect. But if it's apples, water, xanthan gum, you know, red dye 7, and, you know, sodium carbonate, and all of these random things that you can't pronounce, that's not good. The least amount of ingredients, the better. This is a great option. This is a healthy option, and a great way to get a serving of fruit. Yeah, absolutely.
Can you ever, I'm sorry to ask,
No, you come on.
can you ever eat too much fruit?
Yes, you can eat too much fruit.
Oh, you can.
Yeah, it's a lot of sugar. I know you like. I can tell you like fruit. Usually, you think of watermelon, and now you're eating applesauce. You're like fruit. I didn't get a strawberry. Can I have a blueberry? I see you.
Laughing at
We like it.
I love it. I love it. It's amazing.
Oh, well, at least I'm not eating pancakes and.
That's what I'm saying, right? No, I mean when it comes to sugar, like there's a hierarchy when it
I don't know
comes to
what's
sugar.
going on.
Like if you're gonna eat sugar, eat fruit, because then you're getting all those vitamins, minerals, fiber, antioxidants. You're getting all the good stuff and the sugar. Now you do want to make sure, again, if you're eating that fruit, you want to balance it with a healthy protein and a healthy fat to make sure that you're not getting blood sugar spikes, because that can still happen with the fruit. You're also getting, that helps you get water, right? Like eating vegetables and fruit can help you maintain your daily hydration. When you're thinking about water, water is a really important thing. We have to drink water, y'all. Have to. We need it. Our bodies need it. We need it so that our skin can thrive. Our skin is our largest organ. It's our biggest protector. We need to keep it hydrated. The best way to do that is from the inside out. You can slap on all the cocoa butter you want, but if you're not drinking water, your skin's not going to be happy.
Can you drink too much water?
Yes, you can dilute your system with too much water. So the goal would be half your body weight in ounces of water per day. It's a lot of water. So if you're 120 pounds, you need 60 ounces of water per day, minimum. But you don't want to drink too much over that. So, because then it's just passing right through you and it's flushing out all of those good nutrients that you have been trying to get from your food. So you don't want to dilute your system, but you want to hydrate your system. Yes.
And I heard, is it true that we can hydrate our bodies with like the fruit, like with watermelon?
Yes.
And
Cucumbers.
cucumber.
So fruits and vegetables we can get water from. Yeah, absolutely. So that can be a part of it, but we still need to drink water. We can't just eat, right? So drinking from plastic. So just think about it. It's all of these things. So, you know, I could be here all day and talk about this stuff. All of the, I'm like, so drinking from plastic, I can't not say something about it, because when you know these things, you can't unlearn them and you can't unsee it. And once you know it, you'll always think about it. Even if, listen, if a plastic bottle of water is the only source of water you have available to you, drink it. Especially when it's between drinking the, tap water in Fresno and a plastic bottle, please drink the bottled water, However, drinking from plastic, eating foods in plastic. So plastic is petroleum based. Petroleum is oil. Yeah. You know where I'm going with this, right? So what happens when plastic gets heated? It gets soft, right? Right. So let's say you have like something fatty, like An avocado. Well, no, because you don't heat avocado. Let's say, okay, like a piece of bacon. Okay? And you have it on a plastic container and you put it in the microwave to heat it up. So the fat molecules from the bacon and the oil molecules from the plastic, when it softens, are going to, fat attracts fat. So they're going to combine. So then when you heat up that bacon and all of that fat melts, you're going to end up getting microplastic in your bacon and in your body. So when that plastic bottle gets shipped across the country in a truck that's not temperature controlled in August, how hot do you think that truck gets on the inside? Enough to make that bottle soft.
Wow.
Right. So those are the things that we as consumers can start to say, no more. Like, no more. I don't want my water that I'm trying to drink because I need it for my life. Water is life, right? The native people of this land have been telling that to us forever. Water is life. But not when it's full of plastic. Not when it's full of chemicals and antibiotics and weird things from the water processing plant out of our tap.
I'm sorry, I stepped out. There's a lot going on.
No problem.
But are we supposed to be drinking out of plastic bottle water?
We are not. We are not. We shouldn't be drinking out of plastic bottles. No.
I think it's on purpose. And I'll be honest to say, because growing up, I'm an 80s baby, we didn't have water bottles. We didn't have this.
Right.
We did not have this. And I remember in the mid-90s, they were doing phone calls, asking people if they wanted to be a stock holder in water bottles. And we were like, what is that? What is the water bottles? And my grandmother, I remember her saying, what is a water bottle for? Why do we need water bottles? What is that? And then sure enough, 5 years later, we see water bottles all over across the country.
So
I think this is on purpose.
it's right. Well, and again, it's like a deep dark hole we could go down. But part of it is that it was in response to, especially in urban environments, the over-treatment of our municipal water sources to the point where it's undrinkable, right? And you had like whole communities whose water sources were affected and kids were getting cancer and all those things, right? So they had to find a way to get fresh water that was drinkable and usable for cooking and things like that into community. Remember 80s Baby 2, right? The Alhambra truck would come rolling down your street and you would get your bottled water and I mean, that was like growing up in the town I grew up in, we did not drink out of the tap. We couldn't drink out of the tap. That water was not okay, you could smell it. And so we had water delivered. So, right, it's like the chicken before the egg. Cart before the horse, like which can like both of them are a problem and both of them are they intentional and we could hypothesize forever, right? And we could make a case that anything about our like larger industrial food complexes is a form of oppression, right? We can make a case for it. It's not hard. Yeah.
So, my grandmother, when I was like 10, and I don't know if this is off topic, but she used to tell me to go make her some coffee, and we used to have the tea kettles that whistle. When the water is boiling, it whistles. Mm-hmm. And boiling water, what boiling the water takes out?
Right. Boiled water can neutralize it so that it's safe to drink. So like if you are camping and the only water you have access to is like from a creek, you want to find water that's running, not sitting. Right. But then you need to boil it in order to drink it because it'll like kill any pathogens or parasites in the water. Things like parasites. Don't even get me started on parasites.
But my point is that then it transitioned into the microwave.
Right. Ooh.
But then the microwave has all this radiation.
Right.
So now we got
Right.
But I remember the time where they said you couldn't put metal inside of a
Right,
microwave.
you absolutely cannot.
But
You shouldn't put
now they have
plastic in
metal
microwaves.
racks inside of a microwave, and I'm like,
Right. You shouldn't put plastic. You shouldn't use a microwave if you can avoid it. But no plastic and no metal. So just glass, ceramic.
but they have metal racks inside of.
Right, but they're coated. Like the metal racks are coated in a way that makes them safe for the microwave. Like it's weird. I know it's a very strange thing.
And growing up, we didn't have microwaves either.
Right.
So why do we need them now?
Well, me and my friend that's here, we had a talk, this was like about 2 years ago, about the same thing you're talking about. But she was mentioning, we not really supposed to be drinking out of plastic too. We should be drinking out of something else, but we wasn't sure what it was. She just said she remembered the aluminum cups they used to drink out of back in the day. So what would be more beneficial for us to drink out of versus plastic?
Great question. Glass. Ideally glass, ceramic, stainless steel. Like, kids are like so into Stanley,
Yeah, so Stanley.
those Stanley water things, Hydro Flask, whatever. Stainless steel, glass, ceramic.
And then I have another question. I noticed that the plastic Tupperware container, not Tupperware, but plastics that we use in the that we buy from the stores and stuff.
Right.
I noticed that some of them have this notice on them that says BPA approved. What does BPA approved mean when you're talking about plastics and being safe?
Okay, BPA, I'm not gonna try to say the whole thing.
Oh, well, I just want to know why they got it.
But BPA has been found to be an unsafe chemical that is found in plastic.
Oh,
So when
wow.
it says BPA free or BPA safe, it means that it does not contain BPA, and technically that plastic will not leach into your food or is safe to heat. But
The others is not safe.
and if it doesn't say BPA free or BPA safe, it probably has BPA in it.
And it leaks into our food. And
It can leach into our food.
Wow.
Yeah. So like can lining, like aluminum cans, a lot of cans. Like you get the can and it doesn't feel like metal on the inside. It's usually lined with BPA to like help the food stay stable and not get that metal flavor in it. Yeah. So those cans are coated. So you want BPA free cans, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is this could be a way that why we're getting cancer and
Yes.
getting
Yes.
like
Yes.
Said that really straight.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, there's a reason why we have more ADHD. There's a reason why 1 in 3 people a day are being diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. There is a 1 in 3, I'll just repeat that. We are headed, brain health is like one of my passions. I spent 5 years taking care of my grandfather who had Alzheimer's disease. He lived with me for 5 years. I've witnessed firsthand how vicious that disease is and how underprepared as a country we are with the resources needed to take this on, especially in Black and brown communities. It is really.
I'll just take this with me.
Take
It
it
wants
with
me
you.
to- It wants me to.
It keeps flying to you.
Can I ask a question just real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's only going for
Now,
now.
Alzheimer's
So she
and
started at
dementia, are they
kindergarten.
the same?
Oh gosh,
So
yeah,
she's
thank you.
finishing up.
Okay, so
It's 10:30.
Alzheimer's is a form of dementia,
Oh, I mean.
but not everyone with dementia has Alzheimer's.
10:30.
There are several different types of dementia. There's Lewy bodies disease, there is frontotemporal dementia, Alzheimer's, there is Parkinson's is a form of, can be associated with dementia. So there's a lot of different forms. So it's important if somebody's showing signs of dementia that they get properly diagnosed, because the way that their body and brain deteriorates is different depending on the type of dementia that they have. My grandfather had Alzheimer's, and he did everything right. He was highly educated. He read every day. He didn't watch TV. He drank a glass of red wine like 3 days a week with dinner. He ate a balanced diet. He was a little bit of a sugar monster. He liked his cookies, but he also ate vegetables. He ate well. He walked an hour a day. Healthy man. Even with Alzheimer's, he stayed mobile till 6 weeks before he died. He was He did everything right and he still got it. This is incurable and rampant. And we're looking at an entire generation, the boomer generation, right? Our largest generation that is about to go through this. And us as families, it's on us because there's not enough resources. So one of the ways that we can help ourselves and help our elders is to be present, to create community, and to get back to community care. We talk so much about self-care, self-care, self-care. And self-care is important. We have to take care of ourselves. We have to fill our cup in order to be present in our communities. When we give too much to our communities without filling our cup, we burn out. And then that doesn't work. Then our community falls apart. We do have to practice self-care. And we also have to practice community care too. Yeah, and it starts here. Yeah, you guys are doing such good work. I wish I could stay with you all day. But I'll be back in 2 weeks, so we'll talk about it more. Yeah, thank you so much.
So we're fighting an uphill. I mean, if you're
We
not.
are, I know, I hate to like leave it on like a, y'all be in trouble. But in trouble, y'all. Like we can do this. Like what we're doing here, what you're doing here, what you're doing buying that land, man, that's a big step in the right direction. You're doing it. It is an uphill battle, I'm not gonna lie. Like what we're seeing, all this smoke in New York, I mean the climate crisis is real. That should not be happening, trust me. Right? We're used to it in California because we're surrounded by the Sierras, and it is actually a natural thing to have wildfires in California. We are supposed to have them. East Coast is not supposed to have them like this. This is different, you know.
So, with your information and with your knowledge that you know over the years, and because you know how people's diet culturally it changes across the board.
Yeah.
And I'm very familiar with My Plate because I used that My Plate as a guide for a very long time, but then I changed. I had switched gears. But anyway, for your recommendation with your information, what would you recommend would be like a simple but basic plan that someone can follow that isn't a burden on their pocketbook? Now I've heard like, oh, do the Mediterranean diet and you're gonna be healthy and that's it. But everybody don't have the funds to get all of the items for a Mediterranean diet.
Right. Not everybody has access. That's something that's really important to me. And that's something that I talk about a lot in my practice. And, you know, there's a lot of privilege in eating healthy. There's a lot of privilege in the wellness industry. We know that. We know that, you know, the wellness industry wasn't built for people that look like us. So it's important that there's representation. That's why I do what I do. To say, this is for us. Having the same access. Like, I do a happy dance when I see people in Whole Foods. I'm like, yes, you get that good food.
That's my favorite store.
I know, right?
Once a month.
Right? I'm like, you get that good food.
Right.
You use your EBT card.
They got good food.
You buy some crab.
That's right.
Okay? Do it. Get it. There's no shame. Use the resources that you have. You have to get EBT, get it, and use it wherever you want. And there's also good options everywhere, right? You can get grass-fed lamb, grass-fed beef at grocery outlets, right? People don't think about
They
that.
got good.
You can get organic produce,
stuff at grocery.
right? Aldi's is nice too. Winco, right?
Yep.
There are options. You do have access, and again, it's prioritizing, right? It's prioritizing. What is one thing, and it's something you can either say out loud or something that you can take the time to think about. What's one thing a month that you could give up in order to increase your food budget? One thing could make a difference in your ability to have access to healthier food. Now again, it shouldn't be on us to give up something in order to eat well, right? This is an industrial problem. This is a systemic problem that we are fighting against. But I will always say it, I've said it several times today, we vote with our money. We vote with our dollars is the biggest impact that we can make. If we say, I want this, I don't want that, over time, things will go away. My example of the eggs, pasture-raised organic eggs used to be $15 a carton. Now you can get them for $6.99 a carton at Trader Joe's. It took 8 years, but it happened. It happened.
So with that being said, but you didn't answer my question. I have another question, which leads to.
Oh, so the recommendation is, I have this chart that you guys can take one, of just like the best way that's eating for health. It's not Mediterranean, it's not paleo, it's not, like,
Okay.
Everyone is we're all bio-individual. What works for me may not work for you. I have a lot of, like, food allergies and food sensitivities. I eat a more limited diet, but I eat, and I eat a lot, and I eat well. But, like, there are certain things I cannot tolerate in my system. So, you know, what works for you may not work for me and vice versa, but this is like a general recommendation of like how much protein and from what types of sources, how much, you know, seeds and oils and leafy vegetables, crunchy vegetables, starches, things like that. So this will give you kind of a basic thing to go on that can help you kind of go from there. So there's that.
And so talking about the whole food thing, just because you know that is my favorite store, and I used to live in North Carolina, and it was my favorite store there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my question is, and I know you may not have the answer, but just like in general, like why is there only like one Whole Foods in a city?
Privilege.
Because that Whole Foods is a good store to shop at.
It is. It's a great store to shop at.
A great store.
Yeah, it's a great store to shop at, and it comes to privilege.
Okay.
Right? It keeps it exclusive. It's unfortunate, you know, you have to think about who owns Whole Foods, right? Amazon.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Amazon bought Whole Foods like 7 years ago. Yeah. And it actually made Whole Foods more accessible. Whole Foods was even more exclusive before that, right? Because Amazon bought them, they've expanded, and you know, like it's also lowered the price a little bit. But it's still about privilege. It's still classism, right? Like, and it is a great place to shop. And for some people, it's one of the only places they can shop. For someone like me who has a very specific diet, it's one of the only places I can actually shop. When I walk into grocery outlet, I go to like 2 spots in the store, and I go to the meat, and I go to the produce, and I go like to the like organic, like, you know, sash area or whatever that is. Go to like that aisle, and I like scan the frozen food, because sometimes there's good stuff in there too. And I'm out. But all the rest of the store, I don't even look at, because I can't. I walked into a Save Mart the other day, and I was like, whoa, this is overwhelming. No wonder people don't like to grocery shop. This is like sensory overload.
Yes.
It's anxiety inducing. There's so much. The way to save money, the way to eat the most healthy possible, shop the outside of the grocery store. The outside ring is where all the fresh food is. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Right? Do the loop and try to stay out of the crazy.
Is that the middle part is where they all got all the good stuff, where they get tracked
Right?
through all the
And
process.
ooh, don't you just love a pretty label? I love a pretty label.
Yeah.
Right? I'll see something and be like, oh, that looks healthy just from the label. But you gotta read
But
the
you
back.
gotta read it.
And not just, you can't just read the front.
You gotta read
Because
the
they
back.
try to get you on the front now too. They've gotten smart, right? So they'll say like all natural. That doesn't mean anything. It means absolutely nothing.
Wow.
Nothing. Gotta flip it over. Read the back. If you can't pronounce it, and like everything on there except for like the one thing, if like the first 4 ingredients end in OSE, it's all sugar.
That's good to remember.
OSE, sugar. Os. Sucralose, fructose,
Toast.
lactose, os, sugar.
What about corn syrup?
Dextrose, sugar, 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 sugar,
Yep,
sugar.
yep.
The worst.
Yeah.
Agave, just as bad as highly processed corn syrup. Stop it with the agave. It's not healthy. It's not healthy. Honey, maple syrup.
Yeah, I use a lot of
So good. Molasses, great. Really strong flavor, but lots of minerals, so good for you. Yeah, honey and maple syrup, best friends when you're making things sweet. Coconut sugar. Yeah. Dates are great.
Yeah, I've been grinding up dates.
Mhm.
Put them in my
Yes.
cupcakes and stuff.
There you go.
Well, can I ask a question on vegetables?
Yes.
Okay, so, my doctor had told me that I need to get more iron in my body, right?
Uh-huh.
And so, because the iron pills, yuck. But he said, once you try to get the right type of iron, you won't even need to take the pills.
True.
So when I started to look for exactly what I wanted to hone in on to actually buy at the store, because I already a spinach girl, but I started to do research, and then when I started to do research, I got confused.
Yeah, of course.
So what I got confused about, maybe you can clarify for me,
Yeah.
was low oxidant green leafy vegetables and cruciferous.
Oh, okay. So
What the-
right, so cruciferous is a classification of vegetables. It's like dark leafy greens like kale, broccoli, cauliflower, kohlrabi, anything that has that like sulfurous, like bitter flavor to it is usually cruciferous, right? Brussels sprouts we love. But not all dark green leafies are cruciferous. They're all good for you. They
But
all
why
are
do
a
they
source
say
of iron.
don't eat but so much cruciferous?
Right, you want to minimize the so there's theories about like iron absorption. Some schools of thought say that anything that's kind of higher oxidant and a lot of cruciferous vegetables inhibit your body's ability to absorb iron. But you need those green leafy vegetables. So a part of it is how you prepare them. You want to have like some raw, some cooked. Not eat it too much. Have it in moderation. Have everything in moderation. The best source of iron is not plant-based.
Right.
Shellfish, beef.
So what the low oxidant,
Liver is your best source of iron.
with the low oxidant, what is that? That indicates that it has a low oxidant.
Low oxalate.
Oxidant or
No, I feel like I would have to see what you.
oh,
Yeah.
Struggled with the iron journey also, but someone saying blackstrap molasses has a lot of iron.
It does. Blackstrap molasses is a really great source of iron. Yeah, it's a great source of iron. A lot of minerals. Yeah.
I never heard of that, but I had to look.
Chlorophyll for people who may not be familiar with it.
Yeah, I mean chlorophyll is what makes green vegetables green. And it's also found in like sea vegetables, algae, things like that. So eating seaweed is a really good source of chlorophyll as well. It's really good. It's a really good like mineral source. If you are having trouble with iron, you want things that are rich in chlorophyll. So like seaweed would be a good option too. Like those seaweed snacks would be good. I
tried those. I didn't like them.
Yeah.
I just eat sushi, so
That helps.
the only.
Yeah, you could also like make a wrap with like the larger. You can get the seaweed sheets and like the larger ones that aren't like the crispy salty ones, and you could like put like tuna salad in it, like wrap it up like a sandwich.
Like a burrito?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I can try that.
Yeah. Chlorophyll drops. Yeah, it's helpful. Yeah. I think when it comes to supplementation, it's always best to work with a healthcare professional. Like, there's a lot of information on the internet, right? And like, it's easy to like self-diagnose, and anyone who's like prone to anxiety can like go down rabbit hole of like, I can convince myself I have a condition really fast and like buy like hundreds of dollars in supplements that my body actually doesn't need, right? So be careful. But if a doctor has recommended, or a healthcare professional, or a nutritionist, somebody like me has recommended something based on an actual health condition that you're dealing with, then, certain things, again, supplements can be highly processed and can have a lot of stuff. And then you want to look at the ingredient list and make sure it doesn't have something your body doesn't tolerate, make sure it doesn't have a ton of weird things that,
do you do individual consulting?
I do. I do.
Is that hard?
I do.
Well, I would like to give one. I have another question. My baby is 25 years old, so I'm asking this question for other people.
For your baby.
No, he's fine. He's fine. But I'm asking for other people that I know around me, and because I like to share information with people.
Yeah.
Now, because I have someone that is an older person, a senior or mature, however you want to call it, that has a child that is 9 years old and don't eat no vegetables. What could be? And I think that's just. But I'm not the parent, right? You know, you can't tell people how to help their kids. I just don't think it's right because they're not eating any vegetables. What would be a good supplement or a good vitamin, depends on whatever you have?
Yeah, I mean, a multivitamin is always going to be your best bet. You know, one that, you know, hopefully is not like a gummy that's coated in sugar.
Oh, those are not that.
I mean, they're just coated in sugar.
Yeah,
like, it's not helping really. I mean, you know, like a good, like food-based multivitamin, you know, like anything. I mean, but you know, when you're dealing with something like that, you have to meet them where they are, right? If those kids aren't eating any vegetables and they're only eating chicken nuggets and French fries, you have to meet them where they are. I'm not going to convince this young man to all of a sudden eat nothing but salad. It's never going to happen.
I try.
Right? But I am maybe going to, you know, figure out a way to.
Sweet potato fry, right?
Right. Make them a sweet potato fry. Right? Maybe try a chicken tender that's made with like cornmeal instead of whatever that is on McDonald's. Okay, what's your favorite chicken nugget? Burger King chicken nuggets. All right. So, you know, like, meet them where they are. Try to introduce it in small ways, sweet potato fry instead of a regular fry. Maybe for those kids, maybe starting with a cup of applesauce, right? Maybe starting with some butternut squash. You know, the sweet, put some, you know, cinnamon on it, some butter. You know, it's still starchy, sweet, but it's a vegetable. You know, the green vegetables are the hardest to break into, but you know, you have to start somewhere. Yeah. Yeah. I don't have my cards with me. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna write on a bunch of these. My website, which has all my information on it. And that is where you can find me. Find me on Instagram at social.nutrition. And I do work with people one-on-one because everyone is different. Everyone is dealing with different conditions and issues. And so, you know, to like really go on, like, you know, not everybody needs iron supplementation. And maybe you don't. Maybe there's something else that's lacking in your diet that can help you absorb it. Like, you know, there's a lot of different ways to go about it, you know. And like I said, like, not every one thing works for everybody.
So I wanted to, I know you probably can't confirm this, but I've just heard this for quite some time now and just want to hear from someone else. Is there a food and an herb on this planet that will cure all diseases?
No.
I've heard that a lot. People say
I know, because
there's herbs and foods that cure all diseases.
we want the magic pill, right? We're so desperate for it. We want it so bad. We don't want to actually do the work, right? We don't actually want to look at, like, my absolute desperate addiction for cheese is like the worst thing for my body. But you can't tell me anything when I'm standing in the Whole Foods cheese section with like 5 different types of cheese in my cart because I want it so bad. Because like everyone in my body is screaming at me to buy it, and then my brain, you know, gets right, and I put it all back. So I'm like, I'm going to be in bed for the next 5 days. Right? So like, but we have to fight that within ourselves all the time. I I don't want to actually like do the inner work about why I think I need cheese and why it's so comforting for me and like what is going on, like, you know, emotionally that makes me like need to comfort myself on that level. Like, it's just as strong of a drug, right? We can abuse food just as much as we do abuse drugs and alcohol. That dopamine response is real. You know, so it takes a lot of work. When I work with my clients, it is impossible to not get into why we eat the way we eat. It's not just what, it's why. There's always some form of like emotional or mental connection to the habits that we create around food. Either, and as I said in the beginning, like we eat for a lot of different reasons: comfort, celebration, energy, new nourishment, community, belonging. Right? All of our friends are going to eat at BK, and you say, no, I can't. They're going to probably look at you a little funny, huh?
No, they do. That's
That's him. So you're
Right.
You're leading the pack.
You're leading the pack. Imagine if you weren't leading the pack. I get you. Maybe we can balance. We're going to learn to balance it though.
Food seems a universal language.
It does.
No matter where you are.
Right.
And it even says that in the word, it says a feast brings forth laughter.
Mm-hmm.
Wine makes life merry.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's no matter where you are, no matter your upbringing.
Yes. It doesn't matter your culture, your religion, it all has a place, right? It all has a place. And it's important. We don't want to lose that. You know, when I work with people who are in super restricted diets like myself, like one of the first things that we have to get over is this feeling that we can no longer be a part of a community because we have to eat in such a specific way that like going out to eat is problematic. Being invited to somebody's house for dinner can be, you know, challenging. Like our head gets in the way and we isolate, right? But if we have the tools to say, I would love to come to your house for dinner. Is it all right if I bring a dish? That way, you know you can eat something. Then that's what you brought. And then you serve yourself first and you don't feel bad about it. You make sure, right, that is self-care and community care working together. You can do it, right? And then when you share that dish, that you don't have to make excuses for it. If it's gluten and dairy free and you know some kind of like secret ingredients to make an alternative mac and cheese that people don't know, you use like cauliflower and nutritional yeast and like potatoes to make a thing. You can make cheese out of squash. You can make cheese out of zucchini. Yes. Out of cashews. You don't need to tell them it's mac and cheese, but I made it with zucchini. People are gonna be like, I'm not eating that. Just make it and put it on there and see what if somebody, and you know, somebody's like, this is good, right?
I want this.
Can I have the recipe for that? Absolutely. Yeah.
Amazing black bean burger. Put it on the grill. It takes so much time to make these black bean burgers, and it is so good.
Mm-hmm.
And people in my family, they don't eat like they want the meat, they want the meat. But I made these alternative burgers
Mm-hmm.
at a barbecue, at a family barbecue, and they were like, oh my gosh, what is this? What kind of meat is this? Why is it so tender? It ain't no meat, it's all beef. And it was amazing. Really good.
That's awesome.
So many alternatives.
So,
Yeah, there are somebody else with
Shot.
Burger.
What is it called?
Black bean burgers.
Black bean burger.
Black bean burgers. Black beans and mushrooms.
You have to make that for the vegan barbecue you don't have.
so can we give a hand for our presentation? Thank you so much.
I love it.
Wow.
This is so good. I'll be back in a couple weeks. We'll do it again.
Okay.
More.
So I guess you're writing out your information. So, okay, so go to her website, check her out. I'm gonna check her out too. And 'cause I'm trying to work on my gut and everything.
Right, gut health is like the,
Yeah.
internal gut health.
Yeah.
This lesson, that is like the root of all inflammation. Wow. It's in your gut. Our immune system, 95% of our immune system is in our intestine. So if our intestines aren't working properly, our immune system isn't working properly. Inflammation, chronic inflammation is the root of all disease. Yeah, it all starts in the gut. You heal the gut, you have a fighting chance. Right. Yeah, we all are.
So,
That's why I was like, don't get me started on parasites because you don't want to know those numbers.
yeah. So we have Chef Celeste who's here.
I guess
We don't have to.
People are volunteering for stuff, but
Okay, well you could take over. She just finished.
Okay. Talking about that.
Yeah. So.
We'll talk about gut health next time.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh. Yeah, we're gonna talk about things that make people uncomfortable, but it's important. Yeah, it's an important thing to know about for sure.
But I want to thank everyone for helping this morning with the planting of plants, and whoever decided what row we were going to plant, you're responsible for that row, and but you have help. But the weeding, we'll have the young men. We didn't get a chance to hook up the irrigation line, but they know how to hook it up, and so they'll hook up the irrigation line and stuff like that. We didn't have a chance to deal with the compost pile on the other side of the classrooms, but we're still putting foods and things in there and getting it decomposed so that we can break it down to be able to put it in the soil. So we're about, really, truthfully, the only ministry in, I'll say West Fresno, I'm not going to say entire Fresno, in West Fresno that's really doing this type of educational teaching and bringing in speakers and stuff like that. And so we hope it spreads across, but we just trying to be more responsible is the word, and more conscious.
Right.
And
Well, and it starts, right? It starts
right.
here. Like when you guys have the foundation and you have this grasp of this and you have the confidence to know that you can grow your food, you have the education, you have knowledge about making healthier food choices, then you start talking to other people in your life.
Right,
You start
right.
telling your family, you start telling your friends, you start, and that's how it spreads. Like the word will get out there just by you living your life and standing in the confidence of what you know.
Right. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Congratulations on your land.
Thank
it's
you.
Like the future's bright here.
Yeah. And and like I tell people in closing, that when I first came here, I had asked one of our trustees, I said, how much money do you spend cutting the grass a month? They said, about $100. I said, well, how much is the water? Well, about $100. So if you do 200 times 12 a year,
Right.
you see how much, you do the math, how much money that is. And I said, well, when I come here, with all this grass, I said, I don't see any goats or cows or horses here. So let's take that out and plant food. And so that's what we've been doing since I've been here, is planting food. Yeah.
we want to make sure we thank Sister Sarah because she didn't went past her hour, and
I could talk all day, but y'all need to get on with your next thing.
yes,
And I'll be back. We're going to talk about gut
yes.
health.
But we want to make sure that we thank this sister most vehemently, and I'm not trying to wrap it up. I just want to make sure we give her her props. Give her her props. Because we love you. We want you to come back. See you on the 24th of June.
Yeah, I'll be here
Yes, and so
with more tasty things for you to try.
yes, and we're we're so grateful. And I didn't mean to rush, I just made a store run. I'm out of breath. I'm old and tired. But I'm gonna get better because I'm gonna listen to Sarah's nutritional talks and get myself back on track.
Right.
So,
All right. Thank you so much.
no, we want to thank you.
Beautiful
We want to
day.
thank you so much.